Any unwanted sexual behavior from one person to another is a form of sexual assault.
I was walking from my job to my car.
At the time, I was 19. The individual was 23.
At the time, I had recently broken up with my boyfriend. He was upset by the breakup.
I had seen him out in the public as I was getting off of work, and he started talking to me. We get to the car, and I had like a mini SUV type of car, so I had a lot of space in the trunk, and I opened the trunk to get something, and the moment that I opened the trunk, everything changed.
It was Saturday night, and he was kind of like, you should come over, we can just hang out, things like that. After we started talking, we just kind of were just driving around, and then we kind of just stopped. He tried to pull down my pants and unzip my pants, and it's kind of like, no, like, we're not doing this, we're not going there. He's like, you know, you want it, like, let's just do it. And so then there was kind of that struggle back and forth.
A couple weeks later, he called to let me know that he wanted to talk to me about something important. The call came in at like 2 or 3 in the morning. So I said, okay, that's fine. He came and picked me up, drove me throughout Northridge. So he finally said, you know, I just want to make love to you one more time, since we broke up and I really care for you. So I want to make love to you one more time. And I told him, absolutely not. We're not together anymore. I have no interest in you. So he said, well, this is going to happen whether you like it or not. And I kind of got scared and thought I could convince him not to rape me. In my mind, it was rape. He was saying make love, but I was like, no, because I don't want this.
He pushed me into the car and into the back and put himself on me, type of thing, and told me not to move or scream. I did scream. The moment I screamed, he pulled out a pocket knife and threatened that he was going to kill me. And I stayed in shock, but I tried to scream again, and that's when he put the knife over my breasts and scraped the knife on both breasts. And he ripped my dress apart. It was a beautiful pink dress, and he just ripped it to shreds, and to this day I don't wear pink. And he finished, and he said, you know, you're always going to remember me.
He did it a couple of more times, and then I was still saying no, and then eventually one of those no's turned into him turning me around, pinning me down in the backseat of my car, and then the rape occurred.
He grabs me before I could leave the car, slams me down on the ground on the sidewalk, and is choking me and holding me down. He's saying something, but I don't understand him. He then strangles me, and I black out for I don't know how long. It felt like a short time, and I remember thinking to myself, I'm going to die right now. He walks me to the passenger side and pulls out a condom. We'd never used condoms before. We had dated for 6 years, and I knew then that he had planned to rape me. He put the condom on, and he raped me in the passenger seat of my own car.
What a sexual assault victim has to do to present a case, or for a case to be part of the criminal justice system, the first thing is it begins with a police report. We can't do anything, and an investigation cannot commence without first a report.
My experience with reporting to law enforcement was horrible. It wasn't what I expected it to be. I expected them to be nice and kind and really care about the situation, but it became more of, well, what did you do? Why didn't you scream? Why didn't you run away? Are you sure that it was this person? It was the nighttime. Well, you know, you knew him and you knew that you had these red flags. Why did you speak to him? It became more of, why did you not do something? Instead of, where is this person? you know, it became more of you, and not perpetrator.
One officer focused more on the details. Where were you? And I had remembered a lot of details during the rape. For me, part of my survival was remembering every little thing, so I let him know he used a condom. I let him know exactly around the bend where he had dropped it when he took it off of himself. The other officer was very rude and was asking me questions about how I felt. Did I climax? And he was kind of giggling and chuckling a little bit when he was asking me those questions.
The core of every interview is treating the victim with dignity and respect. So there are certain questions that might trigger victims and perhaps offend, especially questions around clothes, whether you've changed, what is it that you were wearing, did you shower, did you take alcohol and or drugs. So the purpose of asking about clothes and perhaps showering is because there is vital evidence that is crucial to the investigation.
My hesitations with reporting were a couple of things. One of them definitely was being a guy made it hard to even to report, because I didn't want to face the cost and be like, oh, I was raped by another guy.
There's a lot of factors that can contribute to a sexual assault victim not reporting or not following through, and it just depends on the specific situation. We find that victims feel a lot of guilt, a lot of shame. They might not enjoy the support of their families or friends. There's a fear of not being believed.
I don't feel I was believed. I felt like they were against me. From the get-go, from the moment of first telling the officer on the scene, like, this has just happened to me, it was kind of like, wait, this isn't how this is supposed to go. When the detective called me and told me that it was really hard to prove that I said no, I was livid. I was so livid because I thought, it's not proof enough that you have pictures of my bloody breasts. It's not proof enough that you have pictures of the bruises. It's not proof enough that you have what's left of that pink dress. It's not proof enough that I'm telling you this happened to me, that I said no. Like, that's not proof enough for this to be prosecuted. You've got to be fucking kidding me.
While we have DNA and we have physical evidence to establish that sexual contact did occur and the DNA belongs to the suspect, if you have one party who, alleges force and another party alleging it was consent, the physical evidence is actually not helpful.
The law on consent it's written in a way where it says that it will sentence those who went against the consent of the victim if there's proof that the victim said no. But everyone knows that rape doesn't have witnesses.
We see a lot of trauma with survivors of sexual assault. It's very clear that a lot of sexual assault survivors, I'm not a clinician and I don't give diagnoses, but it's very clear that a lot of sexual assault survivors do suffer with PTSD.
In my recovery now, I am far from being healed. I'm hypervigilant. Every night I go home, I look in my closets. I pull my shower curtain to make sure nobody's standing behind there. But I don't let it stop me.
I definitely didn't know what else to do, so food became my coping mechanism. I would go to Jack in the Box and my order would be a jumbo jack with cheese, a large fry, a large soda, 8 tacos, 4 orders of mini cookies, and then 2 more jumbo jacks on the side. And I was eating all of it in one sitting. Like, that was my whole lunch. And when dinner came around, it was that order again. So I started to self-sabotage because in my mind, gaining weight and gaining fat would make me ugly and make me less desirable, and no guy or man was going to kind of try to touch me again.
You also have the social barriers, the stigma that is often associated with sexual assault, either being blamed or not the fear of being not believed, or worrying about what your parents will think, or your friends will think, or your boyfriend will think, or girlfriend will think.
When it happened, I called my mother, and that was the most difficult part. I didn't want to hurt her. I didn't want her to be upset that I had been hurt. And then her telling me about when she told my brother, that was difficult for me to hear, that he just laid in his bed. He cried.
When I told my mom I was raped, she basically turned to me and was kind of like, I wouldn't be shocked if you end up with AIDS. Even though the wound was open, it kind of felt like someone had just like stabbed me or had tried to cut the wound again. And it definitely affected me and made me even more insecure just about the rape as a whole, just because of someone who was supposed to be my nurturer and my mother could say something like that. How did I expect anyone else to kind of believe me or kind of take my story seriously?
I'd always end up like writing suicide notes, like my goodbye letters to my family. And I would go to the parking structure, drive my car to the roof, and I'd park to the edge. And I'd leave my car keys where they were visible, and I'd leave my laptop open so that whoever would find the car could find the note. And I would sit on the edge of the parking structure, and I would just sit there for hours, just contemplating jumping or not. That's what happens.
I want to be seen for who I am, not for what has kind of happened to me.
I like to call myself a fighter, because I feel when people say, oh, you're a survivor of whatever, it's like, oh yeah, this happened to me and I'm good now. No, I am fighting the urge to go back into that hole.
I consider myself a victim in survivor's clothing, because I can appear as if nothing's wrong, everything's okay.
I would say that the golden rule as it relates to sex crimes is, how would you like to be treated if you were in the same situation? I would say that that would really bring to surface, or perhaps change, how officers interact with victims of sex crimes.
Everything needs to change. It's expensive to be a survivor. It is not cheap. So we need more housing. We need more cash aid. We need everything. We need law enforcement to be better trained on everything. We need other options for reporting besides only law enforcement. Plenty of people are comfortable going to law enforcement. Plenty are not.
I would love for victims to be able to feel free and supported and encouraged.
My advice to you would be to love on yourself, to realize that you are worthy of being believed, you are worthy of being loved. There is nothing in this universe that you could have done to deserve this. You are worthy of having peace. Take your time with your healing.
I can't keep quiet, no, no, no. I can't keep quiet, no, no, no. Oh, one woman riot, no, no, no. I can't keep quiet for anyone, not anymore. take that dry blue pill. They may see that monster, they may run away, but I have to do this. I can't keep quiet. No, no, no. I can't keep quiet. No, no, no. Oh, one woman riot. No, no, no. I can't keep quiet. I can't keep quiet. I can't keep quiet. I can't keep quiet. There'll be someone who understands. Let it out, let it out now. Must be someone who understands. Let it out, let it out, let it out now. There'll be someone who understands.